Over here to the Mariners after getting away from our Seahawks segment of the show. It was a good week. We'll talk about it here. We'll go into it immediately, starting off with the end of the road trip. Starting against Colorado and the Rockies and the snowstorm I talked about, ended down in Texas in that big, ugly warehouse of a stadium, where the Mariners played the first of two series back-to-back against the teams that were in the World Series this past season. April 23rd to begin that series at the Texas Rangers, a 4-0 win, an impressive shutout victory over the defending champs. They're not really playing like the defending champs right now, but shutting any team out, especially a team like the Rangers with the firepower that they have, is impressive. Our player of the game is catcher Cal Raleigh. 2 hits, 1 run, 2 RBIs, a 2-run homer started the scoring off and put Seattle ahead, a lead that they would never look back from. April 24th at the Rangers, the Mariners weren't able to get the series win that day in Game 2. They would drop this one 1-5. Our player of the game, third baseman Josh Rojas. Rojas, 2 hits and 1 run, including a triple that he hit to begin this game off in the leadoff spot. April 25th at the Rangers, the Mariners get the series win, this time in the series finale, in the rubber match, a 4-3 victory. Our player of the game, third baseman Luis Urias, 1 hit, 1 run, 2 RBIs. His 2-run homer gave the Mariners a 4-2 lead at the time. They would need it, as it would become 4-3 later in the game, and they'd have to hold on to get that win there. That was big. You take the series over the Rangers, and you put yourself back atop the AL West for this current point in time. They returned immediately to Seattle following this and began a new homestand April 26th the next day versus the Arizona Diamondbacks, so the National League representative from the World Series last year. Winning that Friday game 6-1. Our player of the game, right fielder Mitch Haniger, 1 hit, 1 run, 4 RBIs. That hit was a grand slam, the third grand slam of Mitch's career. It was really big. The Mariners were only leading 2-1 when we approached the 6th inning. The bases got loaded. Mitch deposits this grand slam, just hitting the outfield wall in left center, but going into the Mariners bullpen for the homer. The grand slam was a big one there, and the Mariners are able to take the series win. The win there to begin the series. They would win the series with their next game, April 27th, versus the Diamondbacks, a 3-1 victory, as George Kirby, our player of the game, was rock solid, which also happened to be April 27th is the birthday of the video game character Kirby The game Kirby's Dream Land came out April 27th, 1992. So that's the de facto birthday for the character Kirby. And he just happened to be pitching. George Kirby was pitching that day. George, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs allowed, 1 walk, 12 Ks, an ultra quality start. And because I was able to pull out that Kirby's birthday stat, our friend Alex Mayer over with Mariners PR had this stat. If you're not aware, Alex, after every Mariners win this season, will come up with the hashtag, the Mayer game-winning stat. It goes, as you can see on your screen, George Kirby has a .6 ERA in 2 career starts on April 27th, setting a career high with 12 Ks tonight. April 27th is the anniversary of the first Kirby video game, Kirby's Dream Land, released on April 27th, 1992. Thank you, Alex, for that. I really appreciate it. It was really cool. Alex is great with numbers. He's great to have around, covering this team. Is a great resource as well, so really appreciative of him for that. So they take the series win there. It's their 4th consecutive series win for the Mariners. They look to get the sweep the next day, the series finale on Sunday, April 28th. They were not able to do that. A tough one, a 2-3 loss. Our player of the game, third baseman Josh Rojas. Rojas, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI, including a leadoff homer in the bottom of the 1st inning. Before we talk about the past week, excuse me, I got the burps. Our player of the week, talking about Rojas, is Josh Rojas. Over the last 7 days, Rojas has played in 5 games. He's got 5 hits, 5 runs, 1 double, 1 triple, and 2 homers, driving in 2 runs, has 1 walk, a .737 slugging percentage, and a 1.037 OPS. So Josh, since going in because of an injury that we'll talk about when we get to the injury-related news part of the show, really has done some great work as the leadoff hitter for the Mariners, has played a great third base and just continues to show why, as Scott Service calls him, he is a great baseball player. We look at it here, with this past week. I mean, you look at these past 6 games, right? Where you've got the defending champion Texas Rangers, the team that lost to them in the World Series in the Arizona Diamondbacks, and you take 4 of those 6 games. It's hard to be upset. That loss to the Rangers, not great. The Mariners were largely in that one for a while. Just, the one run, not able to do anything. Bryce Miller allows 2 homers. That's tough. And then the loss on Sunday to the Diamondbacks, you were in it. You really had a chance in the 3rd inning against Brandon Pfaadt when the bases were loaded with no outs. Ty France flies out to left field. It's not deep enough to drive a run in. And then Mitch Garver grounds out into a double play. That's unfortunate. That's an area where you need to come through, knock the starter out, put runs on the board. You're able to get a run later to bring it within 1, but no dice. So, largely happy with things, but as I've talked about in our recaps that we write after these games, it's me, especially after the win on the 27th, there needs to be this, it's like you can be happy with the win while also understanding that the team needs to be better. Even in the win over the game 1 win over the Diamondbacks, Mitch Haniger was like, there's still things you need to learn about. Mitch very much seems driven to understand that, hey, that you got to keep working, you got to keep chipping away, you got to keep improving. And that's something that the team has talked about, whether it's Service pregame or postgame, or the players throughout the course of the team that we've spoken to. So, I was a little concerned with the win on the 27th because you needed that homer from Ty France to give you the lead. You strike out a lot. They struck on the 28th. They struck out 15 times. They didn't draw a single walk. The strikeout issues are there. You got to be better in the swing decisions. Pfaadt is a great pitcher. Don't get me wrong there, but there's still areas of this game at the plate that the Mariners need to improve upon. The approach seems to be getting better. Progress isn't always linear. They're not always going to get better every single game, but just looking at it as this is a good week. You win 4 of the 6 you played. You're atop the AL West right now, but there are things you need to improve upon and make sure that you're improving upon them and working at them and not getting complacent, so that when we get into the later months of the season, we don't have to worry about, you're counting wins here and there, or it's too late to improve upon them. So that's my point with that. So we look over here to injury-related news. On the 26th, at the beginning of every homestand, General Manager Justin Hollander brings up a bunch of different injury updates. You've seen it on your screen here, the list of the players, and I'll provide the details of what those updates are. So Brian Wu, who we have seen over the course of the series against the Diamondbacks around T-Mobile Park, he was listed as dealing with right elbow inflammation. There's an expected return date for him. It's mid-May. He made his 2nd rehab start with AAA Tacoma on April 27th, throwing 49 pitches to get through 3 1/3 innings, striking out 6. In his first start with the Rainiers on April 21st, he threw 3 perfect innings, striking out 5 on 35 pitches, 25 of which were strikes. He opened the season on the 15-day IL after he couldn't get loose during his last bullpen session and had to cut it short. He had yet to pitch more than 4 innings during a start in spring training. Hollander does expect him to need another rehab start before he's good to go, but otherwise they're happy with what they have seen there. We'll save Matt Brash for later because we have an update on that. J.P. Crawford, the reason why Josh Rojas has been hitting leadoff and is playing shortstop is because J.P. Crawford is dealing with a grade 1 right oblique strain. We don't have a clear timeline on him. Service didn't have one, but Hollander used the term weeks when talking about that. JP sustained this injury, had an awkward swing during the last few rounds of batting practice on the 24th, ahead of the game against the Rangers. He had an MRI which revealed a grade 1 strain. Didn't have any updates in terms of estimate from Hollander, but he said it's beyond the 10-day injured list stay that he's got. and that they could have some updates in about a week, potentially. On the 28th, we did see him around 4 days after suffering that strain. He was on the field before the game on the 28th against Arizona, taking some ground balls, jogging a little bit in the outfield, but he wasn't throwing. He wasn't really twisting. Seems like he's kind of a slow progression. I did say it was painful to cough, sit, and make some general movements, but he is feeling better than just a few days ago. Still, the timeline remains the same, but nice to see that little update on the Sunday. Outfielder Dom Canzone, who's dealing with a left AC joint sprain. The expected return date's about mid-May at the earliest. He began a throwing and jogging routine with the plan to begin a hitting program next week. If all goes well, per Hollander, he estimates Canzone to be 2 to 3 weeks out from full baseball activities. Eduard Bazardo, relief pitcher who had been dealing with some right shoulder soreness, began a rehab assignment with AAA Tacoma on April 23rd, throwing a scoreless seventh inning. Bazardo missed all of spring training with a rotator cuff strain, but did resume throwing, and the Mariners are hopeful that he'll return to game action near the end. Were hopeful that he'd return to action near the end of April. He initially suffered the injury in a side session prior to arriving physicals for spring training in Arizona. So yes, mid-May is some expected there. Gregory Santos, late May at the earliest is probably when we'll see Santos. The transaction, well, we'll get to that with team news. Santos is already expected to be sidelined, decent amount of time. He'll probably get back to, we'll get to the update here. Sorry, I'm trying to keep the team news separate from these updates here. Santos has begun throwing at 120 feet with the goal to do that for another week before he increases intensity with those throws. He initially experienced shoulder soreness at the start of spring training, but did have a setback by a lat strain during a bullpen session while ramping up, so that was unfortunate, but some positive updates for him as well. Matt Brash, this one's tough. When we got all these updates from Hollander, we heard from Hollander that he was trending well as well. He was supposed to throw a rehab assignment on the 27th with the Rainiers, but we heard from Hollander that day, the day after we got all these updates initially, that he had been shut down before that because he had dealt with a setback. With Brash, where is it here? Where'd it go? Oh, yeah. With Brash, they're going to send him to visit Dr. Keith Meister for a second time to determine a further course of action. Meister is a renowned doctor for these pitching sort of injuries. Brash had been experiencing soreness in his elbow after throwing 2 bullpen sessions to begin spring training, but received initial word from Meister that he wasn't going to need surgery. He was doing a throwing program on the night of the 26th, and the quote from Brash was that after every throw, every throw felt bad, which isn't great. So it was interesting to hear Hollander use the word concerned several times when talking about Brash. So that's not great at all to hear about that. He threw and did not feel good at all. Hollander, I think his words were every throw felt bad. He met with the team physician that night, and they were concerned. He's since returned to Arizona and is waiting up a follow-up appointment with Meister in Texas. Not great. Hollander, there's a quote. It's sort of been a pattern over time. His stuff is great when he goes out there. He's touching 99, sitting 96, 97, 98. But each progressive outing, he has not bounced back, and he's bounced back slower each time. So they're concerned with how he's feeling after he's throwing these sessions, which is not great. So we'll get directly to the team news that I alluded to. On the 25th, infielder Leo Rivas was selected from AAA Tacoma. Infielder J.P. Crawford was placed on the 10-day IL with that right oblique strain, that grade 1, and Gregory Santos was transferred to the 60-day IL with that right latissimus dorsi strain. But as I mentioned a little bit, It's not expecting to mess with his timeline at all. This is just about when he was going to be ready anyway, and it's retroactive to when he suffered the injury initially. So the Mariners sit at a 15-13 record, which is good for first in the American League West. They're continuing a 6-game homestand when they host the Atlanta Braves for 3 games, starting on April 29th. And April 29th and the 30th are both 6:40 p.m. starts. April 29th, though, is a Bark at the Park night. And then May 1st versus the Braves, the getaway game to end the homestand is a 12:40 p.m. first pitch. May 3rd, they begin a road trip starting down in Texas against the Astros, the first time that the Mariners will play the Astros this year. May 3rd is a 5:10 p.m. first pitch. May 4th at the Astros is a 4:15 p.m. first pitch. And May 15th at the Astros is an 11:10 a.m. first pitch. Before we get over to the Storm segment, I will throw it over to myself and Jen Barnes to tell you where to best watch those road games against the Astros and all Mariners road games right here. So we'll throw it to that.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about those Zaps?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. Where are you going to watch all those away games, though?
Away games. I was thinking of coming here since, after all, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports.
I love that idea. Hope to see y'all here.